Good morning. This is Martha Bonetta, your friend of liberty in the Commonwealth and across our nation, your guest host this morning on the John Fredericks Show. Let me tell you, this show, I think this must be the largest listening audience we've ever had. My phone's getting blown up. Not literally blown up, but, people are calling, they're texting, social media is out of control, my email's out of control. I have everybody from the Washington Post to various news channels wanting to, listening in, wanting to hear us and hear what we're doing here in Virginia, because we are creating a wave of liberty in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are leading the charge. It's coming all across our country, providing more prosperity, less regulation, more opportunity for American citizens, making America first. And it's my honor and my privilege to introduce you to our next guest. Our next guest is a fighter. He was a Green Beret. He is a delegate in the Virginia General Assembly, the oldest legislative body in our country. Not only was he a Green Beret, he was with the U.S. Army Special Forces. He ran 2 combat tours in Iraq. And let me tell you, I know firsthand that this man is a fighter. He's a fighter for the hardworking Americans. He's a fighter for the little guy, for everyday Virginians and Americans that struggle every day. And he was there for me when the bad guys came after my farm, and he was fearless and he fought. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much. Friends, Nick Freitas. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Martha. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. We even had Rand Paul on earlier. I'm a huge fan of Rand and actually the whole Paul family, and it just made me so happy. I'm so excited. He's coming to Virginia tomorrow, to Loudoun County, for the rally for you, and he said such wonderful things about you on the show, and I'm just so excited that you're on the show as well. And I was hoping you could tell us all a little bit about why you're running, and if you were to win, how you would defeat Tim Kaine to start.
Sure. Well, I think one of the primary reasons why I'm running is it started really with my military service and understanding all the way back in 2008 that our country was going off in a direction that I was just not comfortable with. This idea that we're going to give more power to the government, especially the federal government, and that if we did that, the federal government would take care of us. And having been all over the world in the military, I've seen what happens when a people really starts losing confidence in their own ability to be the authors of their own story and starts giving over more power, more authority, more of their property to the government in the hopes that they'll take care of them. And it never works out. It always works to the detriment of the poor, of the vulnerable, of all citizens. And so being able to make the argument for what the Republican Party should stand for, because the Republican Party is at a crossroads right now. There are some that believe that the Democrats have essentially won the argument that we're going to have a large federal interference into every aspect of our lives, and now it's just a question of which party should control this large federal apparatus. And I don't have any interest in that. I believe in limited constitutional government for a reason. And I think it's because our founders were brilliant in understanding that a government has a proper role to play. It has an important role to play, but it can't take the place of the individual, the family, the church, the community. And so the same oath I swore to the Constitution as a soldier, I take very seriously as a legislator and as elected representative. And so I think when the Republican Party remembers where its roots are at, its roots are focused on preserving individual liberty. It's in preserving the free market. It's in preserving equal justice before the law. And when we advocate for those things, instead of basically becoming Democrat light, I think that's what really invigorates people, and that's how we win elections.
Absolutely.
And, and again, it's very encouraging too to see other candidates that are not just talking about the same policy positions, but talking about that core philosophy. Whether it's Ben Klein, who just won the nomination, or Danville Franklin, who just won the nomination for the 5th district. These guys are going to be phenomenal in Congress. I'm so excited to serve with them. And to your second question, how do we defeat Tim Kaine? Well, again, I don't think it's so much about defeating Tim Kaine as it's about winning the trust of Virginians. And when we focus on that and look at, let's just look real quick at what this president has managed to accomplish without he can't even get a fair break from the media when he's doing something that had President Obama done it, the media would be doing glowing reports about it. But when President Trump does it, they try to find the most negative attribute possible and make it the entire story. And it's been incredibly unfair to the president. But when you look at the policies, tax reform, regulatory reform. When you look at the judicial appointees. And here's another one. We are talking about peace on the Korean Peninsula for the first time in my lifetime. You know, Barack Obama was in there 42 seconds, and they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize. Why? Because he was a liberal progressive. President Trump is in there for 2 years. We see a rebuilding of the military. We see ISIS in absolute retreat, and we see Kim Jong-un coming to the negotiating table, and us seriously talking about peace on the Korean Peninsula, and the media just runs down the president. So I think this. What's critical for this general election is for Republicans to be able to talk about what we actually care about, what we believe about the positive aspects of President Trump's administration, and what happens for people when Republicans do govern as Republicans. We're safer overseas. We're safer at home. We're more prosperous. People have opportunities. They're able to build their own lives, build their businesses. All of that is incredibly positive, and that's what we should be focused on all the way through November.
I couldn't agree more. You know, less government is more freedom, and what we had before this administration was overregulation. And Americans are now, for the first time, Americans have hope all across our country. They're seeing more money in their paychecks. There's more jobs. There's more hope for the future. And I know that when you go to Congress, you'll support President Trump's administration and vision for America. Absolutely. By making America first, making our veterans first, making our health care first, and really, you know, serving we the people. And I was hoping you could speak a little bit about bringing how you've been able to really unify all across the Commonwealth, bringing in millennials, bringing in independents, really bringing in a wide swath of voters that love freedom, they love liberty. And we're seeing this wave of liberty come in through Virginia and really all across our country. And of course, you know, that's where my heart is. And, like so many, I don't come from a family of all Republicans. You know, I have a very, very large family. I have an extended family that includes Democrats, independents, undecideds, Republicans, conservatives. And, you know, I think I speak for most Americans. You know, we have families that are very, you know, diverse. And so you've been able to bring together so many voters of all different backgrounds, and I was hoping you could speak to how important that is to our party.
Sure. Well, I think there's been a lot of speculation about the current situation for the Republican Party in Virginia. There's been a lot of speculation about changing demographics with respect to this next presidential election. The largest voting demographic will be Generation X and millennials. It won't be the baby boomers anymore. And so people have asked questions about how do you appeal to a wide swath of voters, and how do you do so in an environment where many voters, especially younger ones, have been fed just this absolutely false caricature of republicanism and conservatism. And here's what I found, and here's what I repeatedly say no matter where I'm at. This isn't about finding some sort of slick messaging strategy that appeals to one group at the expense of another. It's not about divide and conquer, or as some people have managed to do in Republican politics over and over, which is divide and lose. It's about finding what is that core element that I think everybody appreciates. And the starting point is how do you see individuals? Again, I see individuals as unique, as beautifully and wonderfully created, that have a unique purpose to fulfill. And when we start with that, which is something that everyone would agree with, then we can get to how do we get to the solutions to ensure that every person is happy, healthy, prosperous, and free. And when we talk about tax cuts from the perspective of, it's not about greedy people wanting to keep more of their own money. It's about you being able to keep what you earn so that you can better yourself, your family, and your community. You don't have to wait on the government to come around and do it. You don't have to have political connections to be able to be a successful person within the economy. So when we really talk about empowering the individual, I don't care if I'm talking to someone that's 18 or 80. I don't care if I'm talking to someone in Lee County or Alexandria. Everyone understands that. And I think especially when we're talking to younger voters, one of the questions I like to ask them is, how much control of your life do you want to hand over to politicians and bureaucrats? And the answer with all of them is not very much. You know, national defense, sure, law enforcement, sure, but they don't want to be controlled. And that's really what this battle is about right now. It's about two competing philosophies, the philosophy of control versus the philosophy of individual liberty. And there's nothing more exciting than watching somebody that for a long time has felt like they don't have any control over their future, that everything is going to be determined for them from Washington, D.C., to see those people wake up and start to realize that, no, I can build my own business. I can be the author of my own story. I don't need the government to come in and tell me what to do. That's exciting, because I believe God put that in each and every one of us. And I think it's something that is especially important in Virginia when you look at our history. So we're going to keep talking about that message, that this really is, and Trump said it, and President Trump said it in his inaugurational speech. This was not about concentrating power in the Republican Party or the federal government so that we could do what we want. This was really about returning power back to people to put them in control of their lives.
Here.
And that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what we win on if we stick to it and we believe it and we mean it and we legislate and we govern that way.
And time again now, we're seeing that, voters want a fighter. When Donald J. Trump was running, voters all across America, they saw in him a fighter, a force to be reckoned with, somebody that's going to shake things up, go to Washington, shake things up, and represent the people, the forgotten man, if you will. And you're a fighter. I mean, you're a Green Beret. I've seen you fight for us in the halls of the Virginia General Assembly. You voted against expanding Obamacare. You voted to ban sanctuary cities. You voted against all tax hikes. You are a free market individual liberty candidate that will represent everyone as everyone goes to the polls right now. What is the one thing you want them to be thinking about as they go to the polls and cast their vote for you? What should they carry in their hearts with them to the polls?
Well, one thing that I honestly think is unfortunate that we have to bring up right now is that, in these last 2 days of the polls, some candidates are going to try things which are completely dishonest, and they're going to do it in the hopes that people aren't paying attention, that they won't. One of the other candidates in this race has claimed that I'm a never-Trumper. They've claimed that I'm for sanctuary cities. To me, this is so offensive because I have an actual record. And what this candidate is doing is he is betting on the fact that nobody's going to go and check before they vote on June 12th, on this Tuesday. And here's all I would say. Reagan was right. Trust but verify. If you like what I'm saying right now, I am telling you, I have a record over the last 3 years in the General Assembly. I have voted this way. I have debated this way. When the Democrats have come and called us segregationists or Nazis, I didn't just sit there and vote against them. I got up and I spoke out against it because, like you said, we are looking for people that are actually going to fight. And one of the things, and look, when President Trump first ran for office, I was skeptical. But I will tell you what, that man has proven himself. He has stood by his word. He's been willing to fight even when he's had to do it almost alone. And I respect that. And that's something that it motivates me because I want to make sure that in Virginia, if you look at a lot of the great legislation that we have passed from our Republican members of the House of Representatives, it dies in the Senate. So we need reinforcements into the Senate right now. We need Republican representation up there from the Commonwealth of Virginia so we can get those bills passed so that we can make sure that when President Trump is trying to make sure that we can keep more of our own money, that we can open a business, that our military men and women are safe, that our veterans are taken care of, it's not going to be obstructed because Tim Kaine has decided that the only solution to our problems is more government power and more government control. And so as we go into this June 12th primary, all I would ask, if you have questions, ask. Go to our websites, nickforsenate.com. Go to Facebook. Look at my record. I think I'm proud to say it speaks for itself because I've legislated the way I campaigned, and that's what we need. Donald Trump has been one of the few Republicans that has actually governed the way he campaigned, and we need to send more people up to Washington, D.C. that will do the exact same thing.
Absolutely. And friends, I know Nick Freitas. He's a fighter. I called him Fighting Freitas long before he ever started running for Senate. And this man will fight with every breath he takes for the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia and for our nation. I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen him go against the litany of bureaucrats that want to regulate. And I've seen him push back, and I've seen him win time and time again. Nick Freitas, thank you. God bless you for all you do. Thank you for your service to our great nation. I see you have an A+ rating by the NRA. That's near and dear to my heart. And thank you for all you do. And with you and Denver and Ben Klein in Congress. Wow, that's a big burst of liberty, and I'm honored and blessed to know you. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Martha, and thank you for everything that you have done for the Commonwealth of Virginia. You've been an inspiration.
It means the world. I can't wait to see you tomorrow when Rand Paul joins you in Loudoun County.
Thank you.